Data from Standard Bank shows that nearly half of South Africans who get a paycheck end up with less than 1,000 rand or negative balances when payday arrives.
The bank says this data could suggest that consumers are finding it difficult to align their incomes with their lifestyles, or the other way around, and warn that such tendencies result in a lack of financial resilience in the event of emergencies and the like.
This data analyzed more than 402,000 people who are paid on common payment days, such as the middle of the month, the 25th, and the end of the month. 28% of respondents had negative balances or were utilizing overdrafts on the day before payday, while 21% had 1,000 rand or less.
Most people cannot handle a tire blowout, or they're going to put it on credit.
According to the National Credit Regulator, South Africans now carry around 2.3 trillion rand of debt. A recent study by The Outlier titled Debt Trap showed that 10 million out of the 27 million South Africans with credit are 3 months or more behind in debt repayments or facing legal action and adverse listings. $13.2 million. That's the number of South Africans currently living in poverty, with the poverty threshold at $2.15 or less than 40 rand daily. That despite South Africa ranking first as the richest nation in Africa in terms of GDP as of 2025. Just last year, 139,563 more people were pushed into poverty compared to 2023. Moreover, the headcount was forecast to increase in the coming years. By 2030, over 13.4 million South Africans will live on a maximum of $2.15 per day, nearly a 2% increase. Poverty is expensive. South Africa spends approximately 266 billion rand, or 3.6% of its GDP, on social welfare for the 2024-25 financial year, with 96% of this expenditure going towards social grants like child support, old age pensions, and disability grants, which it gives to 28 million beneficiaries.
Well, the World Bank Global Poverty Database has found that South Africa remains the most unequal economy. The country is ranked first among 164 states around the world when it comes to inequality on elements, including pre-income distribution, gender, race, and education.
Income inequality is one of the reasons why South Africa suffers from such high rates of poverty. Unlike similar emerging markets, where the median income is 47%, the wealthiest 20% of South Africans own over 68% of the nation's income. The richest households in South Africa are almost 10 times wealthier than the poorest households. This is reflected in the country's Gini coefficient, which is around 0.63, one of the highest in the world. The Gini coefficient is a commonly used statistical measure of how income is distributed among a country's population. It accepts values between 0 and 1. A coefficient of 1 implies complete inequality, which occurs when one person in a nation earns all of the country's revenue. A coefficient of 0, on the other hand, indicates absolute equality, which occurs when a country's revenue is dispersed evenly among all of its residents.
The Minister of the Department of Employment and Labour has announced an upward adjustment of the national minimum wage rates for 2025 from 27 Rand 58 to 28 Rand 79 for each ordinary hour worked. South Africa introduced the implementation of the National Minimum Wage Act in 2019. Now, in terms of the policy instrument, this obligates employers to pay workers a minimum amount per hour.
As of March 1st, 2025, South Africa's national minimum wage is 28 Rand and 79 cents per hour. This is a 4.4% increase over the previous minimum wage. While the rate rise is unavoidable due to the growing cost of living, many firms have reacted by reducing hours, freezing employment, or even failing to comply with the higher rates. This scenario implies that, although salaries are technically increasing, many people either do not realize the advantages or become jobless. Compounding these issues is inflation, which continues to erode purchasing power. Inflation rose to 3.2% year-on-year in January from 3.0% in December. The finance minister's budget speech was postponed last week for the first time in South Africa's democratic history due to a cabinet dispute over a proposed VAT increase from 15% to 17%. Increasing VAT would raise living costs, particularly food prices, putting additional strain on already tight household budgets. The Household Affordability Index, which monitored the costs of 44 essential goods from 47 supermarkets and 32 butcheries, found that the average cost of a household food basket grew by 35 Rand and 92 cents from approximately 5,277 Rand in February 2024 to about 5,313 Rand in February 2025. The research also shows that 47% of the food products in the basket are subject to VAT, which equals to 2,484 Rand, and with the VAT amount of 324 Rand. This means 6.1% of the household food basket is made up of VAT. A 324 Rand tax is approximately the same cost as an average low-income household's demand of 30 kilograms of maize meal per month.